Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel. And the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. With my espresso, my recap is set to go, folks. Lots of stuff to talk about. You can tell it's the autumn or the fall because there's a little more activity out there in the market and in the Fountain Pen Therapy studios. I can tell you I've got a bunch of deliveries. I'm going to try to pace myself. So without any further ado, we'll shorten this introduction. Fountain Pen Therapy presents the weekly recap for September the 28th, 2025. Be right back. What's new in the market, folks? Lots of news in the market. So let's get to it right away. We'll go to my computer. I'll show you what has attracted my interest in any event. So the first thing that we have to look at is Asvine. Wow. They've come up with a new pen. Very excited. The V800. We'll take a look at it in a second. I still can't figure out how Asvine markets their products. I've seen their products on AliExpress, but they always come in later. I've seen their products on Etsy. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not there. It looks like they've got an Asvine, they have an Asvine store on Amazon. Sometimes the pens are introduced first in the North American market and the Europeans are complaining. And this time, the pens were first introduced in the European market, and we, the North Americans, are complaining. I have one of my viewers, Alain, who I believe is French, but I could be wrong, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong. He's a regular viewer. Advised me that Asvine V800 was being sold on the Amazon French site. Went there, the V800 was there in all its colors. I went to see if Amazon CA, Canada or US had the product. Not yet. I wrote to Asvine, I said, hey guys, when are you going to introduce the pen in the North American market? And he said, stay tuned, within 24 hours it should be on Amazon.com, the US. Waited 24 hours, waited 48 hours, I didn't see it. Teresa Harris and Fontaine de Plume, Fontaine de Plume published that it was being offered in France, on the French site. Teresa Harris said it's on the US Amazon site. Went to US Amazon, I couldn't find it. Went to US Canadian site, yes. The V800 was there, but only in one color. I discovered there's many colors. It's that transparent, not even the gold trim, the silver trim. So I ordered it because I wanted, to get it right away. And I keep checking US.com, and let me show you how this thing is ridiculous. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my cookies that are preventing this. But let me show you what I mean and how frustrating this is. And they've got it. I mean, Asvine makes beautiful pens, but they've got to get their act together. So let me just show you what I mean. Now, if I go to Amazon and I just click Asvine V800, I'm not going to find it. So I said, let me go into their store. So I'll go into the store and I look at fountain pens and I click down and the V800 is nowhere to be found. And I said, well, okay, it's not on their site yet. I keep looking and looking, and trust me, I went through the whole list. It's not there. Then I saw this search engine right here, search all Asvine. And so I decided, I said, well, let me just put V800 for the fun of it. Okay, 1 second. So if I click there, as you can see, by the way, if I put Asvine V800, I won't find it. But if I just put V800 and I click enter, there it is. And I get 2 Asvine products that I didn't see otherwise. This is a reason why I couldn't see them. It's just like underneath somewhere. And if you're not lucky enough to type the right thing, then you don't find it. First of all, they've introduced those beautiful 1.1 number 8 stubs that everybody likes. Well, you can buy them. For $14.99, you get a set of 2. Imagine you get 2 nibs for $15 US. That's fabulous. And at $35.99, you get all of the choices for the Asvine, unlike the Canadian site. And look, last time I checked, it may very well be that by the time this recap gets published, the Canadian side will be showing other things. But at the time of this, the recording of this recap, CA only had one choice, the Canadian site. But here you've got the sky blue. First of all, you got them in all the nibs, going from extra fine, fine, medium to stub. You got the sky blue, you've got the blue brown, you've got the blue white, you've got the brown white, you've got the demonstrator gold trimmings, which I would have loved to order. You've got the demonstrator silver trimmings, which is unfortunately the one I originally ordered. Then you've got this beautiful green and the amber. Now, what I did subsequently is I ordered 2 more pens from this site. Not only that, the American site, you get a delivery by October the 1st and even September the 29th, which is, right now it's September 26th. I'm taping this. So in 3 days, I get the pen. The Canadian will send it to me maybe in 2 weeks' time. So, and when I look at the prices, I was under the impression that because of the tariffs and because U.S. is being, punished by China, that they would be paying more for their pens than we would in Canada, but maybe we're being punished just as much. I don't know how it all works, but at the end of the day, it's not any cheaper on the Canadian site, which is, are they making more money? I don't know. I don't want to accuse them because I haven't done the analysis, but it's just a thought, and maybe some of you might have some ideas in that regard. So I ended up ordering 2 more. I couldn't make up my mind here. So I ended up ordering 2 more from the American site, and I should be getting those probably sooner than I will get the original pen that I ordered 3 days ago on the Canadian site. So there you have it. It's big news. Asvine, looking forward to this. Is a vacuum filler. It's a huge pen. It kind of looks like a cross between the Penlux Masterpiece and the, the 149 is always there. It attracts. And maybe some other pens, but there you have it. It's a nice big juicy pen with the number 8 steel nib. So in all of its measurements, if you will. So that's the big news there. So that's really the only. What else do I've got to say on the Chinese market? That's really the only one. The only one I wanted to mention. There is this. I mentioned this before. This flex pen variation of the 9019, where I guess somebody's worked on their nibs and made it really flex, ultra flex, flex, super flex, different types of nibs. I mean, they charge a premium. It's available on 365 days stationary. It varies depending on the nib you choose and the pen you choose. It varies between, $70, $80 Canadian to about $115 Canadian, all depending on which pen and which nib you choose. I wasn't sure whether or not I would jump on that, but I did want to mention that I saw a review by Wonders Unlocked. You'll see it here. It's just a short right here called Crazy Ultra Flex, and he's got it. So he ordered. The chances are he's going to do a full review on it. Has he done it? Let me just look at videos in case he has. No, not yet. There is a short that he's done where you can see some of that flex. So that can give you an idea of how flexy that nib is. It looks really, really interesting, and it may be worth the $80, $90 Canadian. What else have I got to mention to you? Oh yes, this Ongdian 1866, I was mistaken. When you look at the photograph, I thought that this was blue wood, and I was corrected by several of you, the viewers. It may look blue on the side, but it's actually black, and the black one I knew about already, so there is nothing new about that. So I was mistaken last week when I mentioned that there was something new. That's not the case at all. What else have we got for you? Okay, if we move away from the Chinese market, we've got a brand new TWSBI Carrara, and as you can see, the cap is made out of Carrara and onyx, which, the Carrara being the the marble that you can find in Italy, onyx because of the black clip. So I thought that was an interesting look for the new TWSBI Echo. Casa Stilografica has got some new Wieringal inks. I'm weary about these Wieringal inks. They just got too much. It's too complicated for me. I'm just afraid they're going to mess up my pens. So maybe this Carmilla color looks less flashy. The Ugly Duckling is a little too light for me, and the other two got too much sparkle in it. So, but I thought I'd mention that for new inks. Nino Marino's come up with a new pen. Yes, it is 516 euros. Unfortunately, these Italian pens are really expensive, but I thought I'd mention it. It's a beautiful, beautiful pen. It's a part of his Nino Marino signature line. It's called the Luna Caprese. So, Nino, my friend, another beautiful pen. Congratulations. What else have I got? Gold Spot has got this nice Edison Newark pen, the Helix Nebula, which looks really, really interesting. I think this is a nice big pen with a nice finish. Thought I mentioned that. That's on Gold Spot. Goulet Pens has got this new Laban. I mean, several of the sites have got the new Laban. This, I still haven't bought myself a Laban 326. I don't know what I'm waiting for. And I'm always attracted by the new one. And the new one is always more expensive, of course, than some of the older colors. One of these days, I'm going to take the dive and just get it. It should form part of my collection. I have almost every other model of Laban, but I don't have this one, unfortunately. And I don't know what's taking me so long to get it, but I thought I'd mention that. Rhodia looks like on Pen Chalet, there's also a green one, but it looks like they have different colors for their notebooks or notepads, which is interesting. I know a black, I know that, typical orange and the white, but now it looks like they've got pink, burgundy, marine, and they even have green, from what I understand. So that's interesting. In terms of paper, an additional heads up is the Canopus notebook is out. This Canopus is supposed to, from Yamamoto, is supposed to, replace the Cosmo Air Lite. And I know some viewers have already reviewed that notebook, and maybe I'll mention that in my reviews. Heads up, in all the sites that I've looked at so far, at least at the time of recording of this recap, they're all out of stock, including jet pens. But just get your restock notification, and as soon as that comes in, if you're interested in Canopus Note, that's a novelty in terms of fountain pen therapy, the good paper, and this, I understand, will in fact replace Cosmo Air Lite. And so I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one of these and reviewing it for you. So that's it in terms of what's new in the market. As you can see, quite a bit. I ran through that very quickly. I'll try to put all of that in my description so you can have access and you can peruse, take your time. There you have it. So stay tuned for my next segment. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. So what's new in the fountain pen therapy studios? Huh. Let me tell you. I think every day of the week, this past week, and it's been a very busy week at work, but every time I came back, I got something new. So I, spent the evenings just looking and enjoying the new products that were coming in. So there's quite a bit there. We're all addicted, and but when you have a channel, you got to feed that channel. And let me tell you, it's got a big mouth, just like its owner, and it's swallowing up real quick there. Let me tell you, my wife is wondering, why are all these people delivering at our door? And you say, how much money are you spending on these pens? I don't want to hear that we can't afford a vacation anymore. In any event, you know the way it is. So what have I got for you? Here we go. Let's start with some paper. I'll go to my overhead camera. I promised you the new KINBOR products, and they're all in. Wanted to show you that, and we'll go to my overhead camera to show you what I've got. Now, some of the stuff is old and some is new, but they are available for 2026. First of all, let me put this aside for a second. The KINBOR A5 2026 planner, which is really an Obonichi knockoff, if you will, is out. And this year it comes in this red kind of Chinese-looking cover, and I thought I'd get it. It's the first time I get it in this red. There's always a different motif every year. So this year it's the Chinese horse. And I thought for once I'd get it in this cover so I can show my viewers. But it also comes in its black version, just a more less flashy version, which is this black version. And you also can get the A5 and you can get the A6 size, and again, very similar to Obonichi. We'll take a look at that in a second. You can also get a notebook without any date. Okay, so this is kind of free day, if you will. It's just a bunch of pages. It's basically the same principle, without markings, without dates. So you can, you're not stuck with one day at a time and one page for every day. And you can get it both in the A6 or you can get it in the A5. Now, in addition to that, you can get their version of what is the weekly or the week's, the weekly journal or planner, if you will. So this is their version of the weekly. Now, what you have to be careful for, and maybe we're going to do that in the ink swatching session, is that the paper that you find on this, okay, is a much better paper than you will find on both the weeks and the free day notebooks. This one is not, from what I understand, it's not as friendly or performing as this one here. So what I thought I'd do for you is that instead of inking this brand new weekly journal, because I'm going to be using it, is that I'm going to show you the paper on this, which is the equivalent of this, and we'll compare the A5. We'll do the swatching on this paper and on the brand new KINBOR planner A5 paper, just to show you the difference, if there is a difference, so that we can make up our own minds. But there you have it. And what I typically do on an annual basis, is that I put my KINBOR or my Obonichi in this beautiful leather casing, if you will, or cover. And it's nice, as you can see. It's worn, but it's strong. I think I've had this for almost like 5 years. I haven't quite decided whether I'm going to go with this year or the Obonichi, because I did buy the Obonichi 2026. It cost me $85. I like the paper, and eventually we're going to be doing a comparison. That probably next week we'll do the comparison between the two. So I do have, where is it? my 2026. And as you can see, I'm not going to give you a detailed run of the notebooks because that's not really the specialty of this channel. And there's plenty of other channels that do it better than I do and can give you all kinds of tips. What we should do, however, is let's just open up my new KINBOR just to show you how similar it is. Even in terms of its packaging, it comes with this little map that gives you, I don't know what, but it gives you something. Maybe it gives you just an indication of what's in the actual planner. First of all, this is really nice. I got to tell you, it's nicer than the black one. It's kind of leathery, and look at that. You've got a black insert there, and as you can see, it's very similar. It gives you the dates, okay? It gives you the annual there. At the beginning, it gives you either monthly or weekly pages, just like the new Obonichi. What I find nice about the Obonichi is that the different months have different colors. So when you take a look at that, you can see that these are all different colors going from red to blue to orange, etc. Whereas on the KINBOR, they're all gray. So there is that difference. But essentially, we're talking about the same thing. What I like about the KINBOR is that I've got a separator here. So that's always a good touch. You can always leave it on the date, whereas the Obonichi does not have that feature. But we'll do a detailed comparison eventually in terms of performance of the paper, which is really what interests me and us the most. And in terms of the details of these journals or these planners, I invite you to take a look. There's plenty of reviews. There's dozens that do it much better than I do. So that's the paper I propose for you this week. It'll be the comparison of the KINBOR papers, the two of them. And what we'll do is we'll introduce first the inks I have to propose and the ink swatching, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. Now, in terms of the inks, you'll remember the last week what we did is we reviewed these new Leonardo Officina Italiana inks, and the verdict's still out as to whether or not they're actual new inks as compared to their old stock, or if it's just new packaging. I reviewed the Smeraldo Duro, which is the emerald, the blue black, and this black, which I thought was the new one just because the shape of the bottle was new, and I'm still not sure whether this is from the old or the new. We're going to be reviewing this week the Assa Blue, the green, and this Noce Moscata, which is a brown ink. And I got my hands on this black intense, black, Nero Intenso with the new packaging. So we're going to compare it to what I think is the old stock, and we'll be able to see whether or not it's actually different. This one came down in my last recap. You'll see that the black is a little, kind of gives you a brown shading when you swatch it. But we'll see if this looks a little more black. I've just tested it with some pens, but I may be wrong. So we'll do the swatching again. So you'll have a look at the new packaged black to see if it's any different. This one is described as black, and this one is described as Nero Intenso, which is intense black. So I'm not sure it's any different. We'll see. So we'll put away these that we've done last week. These are our new suspects for this week. We will get our water and our tools for the swatching ready. Let's put in the paper, which is this KINBOR. Yeah, so the paper, in terms of description, on the KINBOR A5 journal, it's known as batch 1 paper, which there's a big controversy. Is batch 1 Chinese Tomo River, their own version, or is it Tomo River Sanson, essentially? I'm not sure. I've seen all kinds of theories out there. So, short of actually speaking to somebody from the source, I can't be sure, but the important thing is that we take a look at it and that we see how it performs, and then next week we compare it to the Obonichi Tomo River paper, which we know is a Sanson, but a new and improved Sanson for 2026. So that is what's referred to as batch one paper. On these freelance or free day notebooks, it's known as KINBOR paper. And you can tell the difference right away. This one is nice and and thin, the way you normally see Tomo River. This one's a much thicker paper with a little more texture, if you will. So I can tell there's a big difference between the two, but how do they perform? Well, we'll take a look. So let's get the swatching going here. Okay, in terms of my swatching tools, I'm now resorting to my folded pen for the swatch and my Sailor Okoro with the feed to write the names of the ink as we go along. First, let's start with the black. Okay. Well, it's a nice intense black. Still see a little bit of a brown shading, but we'll see how it translates once it's all nice and dry. Okay. Let's just dip the dip pen. So this is the Leonardo I'll put down narrow intenso just to show for my own purposes, because I keep these swatches. Leonardo. Oh, I can tell right away that the texture is completely different. You can hear it. Okay, so that's intense black. And here it's soaking up real quick, whereas on the batch one paper it's taking a little more time. Next we'll do Noce Moscato, which is the brown ink. Beautiful brown ink. I've inked several pens with this ink, and I got to tell you, these Leonardo inks are really, really impressing me. So yeah, take a look how nice that is. There we go. So this is the, yeah, it's so beautiful. Leonardo Noce Moscato. Now what I have to check is, I know there's a, last year there was, or the old inks at Leonardo Sepia, and I'm not sure if Noce Moscato takes the place of Sepia or it's just an addition. I'd have to check that. I mean, you can tell the difference. You can hardly hear the Tomo River when I swatch or write on it, and you can definitely feel the texture on the KINBOR paper. It's important because I don't want you to be fooled into thinking that this non-undated notebook has the same batch one paper. It doesn't. So it may not be what you're looking for. Okay, this is green. I think it's referred to as forest green or verde foresta. Again, I've inked a couple of pens with this, and you'll see that in a minute. and the ink is just very, very nice. So this is, well, before it spills, just remove some of the remnants there. Okay. Leonardo Verde Foresta. And here, same thing. I'm really happy with the Sailor Okoro with the feed. I think the days of using all these other dip pens are gone. I may still do it just because it's fun to change, but you know what? It's going to be kind of, if you ask me what's going to be my go-to dip pen, and this is the extent that I use my dip pen. I'm not an artist, far from it. So dip pens have limited use for me. This is the Asa Blue, which again is just a gorgeous color, at least in the pens that were inked with this ink. Take a look at that. Isn't that nice? It's kind of a bluish royal blue. Very, very, just very nice, very intense. Telling you, these Leonardo inks, and they're inks for pens. They're not for, there's no shimmer. There's no, which is, I think, where I'm going in terms of my own choices in inks. Once in a while, I'll get a shimmer, but I find myself not using them in my pens. So what's the point? This is Asa Blue. Oh, that's too bad. Just ruined that page. Leonardo Asa Blue. Never fails. I always manage to make a little bit of a mess. Just going a bit too quickly just so that you can get the maximum out of this recap. But there you have it. Sorry for the mess there, the big dot. We'll let these things dry and we'll be right back. But before we ink any of those pens, I thought I'd come back and show you what the inks look like. And now they're dry. Well, mostly dry. I've waited long enough on this batch 1 paper. You can tell that this paper just doesn't give you the same quality in terms of the swatching. The inks are pretty well flat. No sheen, very little shading. You can tell the paper just absorbs the ink, and that's about it. Whereas in the batch 1 paper, which is Tomoe River Sanson, I think, you can see the sheen on the Asa Blue, the red sheen. You can see the red sheen and shading on the green. Same thing with my Moscato, and again my Nero Intenso. You can see the brown shading there, so I think it's the same ink as the original black, so it's not any different. It looks exactly what I inked last week, so I don't believe it's a different ink. In terms of what we see on the other side of this paper, let me just show you. Of course, the batch 1 is pretty similar to what we see in generally in Tomoe River. The swatches kind of go through, and there is some ghosting, which is typical of that type of paper. On this one, you can see actually bleed through that went right through and affected the other side, unlike the batch 1 paper. Perhaps a little less ghosting, but some bleed through though. So this is kind of a paper that's semi-fountain pen therapy. I think if you use the right pen, you can get away with it. But it's certainly not the same as the batch 1 or the Tomoe River Chinese paper, if you will. I prefer this one. I would have a tendency to stay away from this notebook. It is cheap. It's not expensive, but if you're going to get any paper, I would suggest any product that has the batch one paper. So there you have it. That's the result of the swatching. We'll come back and we'll do some writing on this paper with those new pens that I've just acquired. Okay, we're back with Pen Haul. What have I got for you this week? Well, as I mentioned, there's quite a few, so I'm going to split things up so that I can keep some for next week, so to speak. And I've got one major, beautiful, just a beautiful pen that's kind of changed my mind on things, or at least on that pen maker. So without any further ado, let's go to my overhead camera. Here's the big surprise. Momento Zero Grande 2.0, stilografica lavorata da barra piena. Yeah, very, very nice. Leonardo pen. That's kind of slowly growing on me, I got to tell you. Now that I think I've been able to figure out their nib dilemma, or my dilemma with their nibs. Nice box, hardcover. You open it up, and there's that beauty. Isn't that gorgeous? That's where I got the black Vincenzo, by the way, that we just watched. Of course, I'm sparing you with all it came with a booklet and some, the condom for the paper, and the ink was also wrapped. But I've spared you of that. So here's the pen. This is a new Momento Zero Grande edition that they've just come up with, one of two. This is the sottobosco, so the underwood or underforest. It's autumn, it's fall, so it's meant to go with the seasons. It's a seasonal color, if you will. But the resin on this thing is just absolutely gorgeous. I love this motif. It kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the vintage pens that I have. It's a Momento Zero Grande 2.0, which, we've seen before. It's got that clip, the same top and bottom. It has, because it's 2.0, it has the ink window, but the pièce de résistance is that nib. That's that 14 karat La Fenice. From what I understand, in-house, we can say it's in-house nib. It's not a Yowo nib. And you know what? That's a medium. I'm going to leave that for my detailed review. That review will probably go up this week, this Wednesday. I'm working on it. I think I'm hoping anyway that nib works out to be as good as I think it will be. And stay tuned for that review. So that's the star of the show this week, is this my Leonardo. What else have I got for you? Asvine reached out to me. They wanted me to review this pen, and again, their boxes are just a pain. Okay, here we go. Nothing new here. This is their classical box that doesn't fit and it's hard to pull out. Okay, here we go. They wanted me to review this pen. Now, we've seen this before. This is the Asvine C2000. But I think what they've done is that they're reissued this pen. It's now being sold again, in other words. I think some of you may have noticed that it kind of disappeared, and now it's back in the stable wood version. Except the difference is that they've now fixed the problem. So let me get my flashlight. Remember, the problem was that there was no capping there at the end. You see, there's kind of a, it's hard to see with the camera, but there's a knob there made out of rubber, which seals it and shuts any air from coming in because there was dry nib issues. Their original version, when it came out, you just saw kind of a big hole there. They then sent you could have asked for them to send you a little rubber tap, if you will, that you could install yourself. I've done it on all my other C2000 wood pens, but this one comes with it. It's a little bit different because it's been installed at the manufacturing stage as opposed to after the case. But there you have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink this with the Verde Foresta. And when it comes time to consider my pens for the week, we'll take a closer look at this pen. Or maybe we'll do it right after I show you what else I received in terms of penol. Yeah, maybe we'll do that separately. That way one flows with the other. So this is the, I guess, newly released. And that maybe explains why Figboot thinks that this pen has been released 2 weeks ago when it's been released months and months ago. So there you have it. And we'll take a look at whether or not there's anything different about this one, compare it to my previous versions, but I don't think so. Next, what have I got? Oh, I did receive this P140. I know some of you don't like the P140. There's been critique that why do the 140 when you have the 141, which is a much better, or am I mixing up the numbers? 1 second here. There's no number on this. No, this is the P. 1 second. I don't want to get this right. I went wrong. Yeah, I was getting it wrong. That's what I thought. In order of things, the P140 is what we all know is the better of the two. They're saying here you have the P140, which is what came out after the P139, which are these two, with that beautiful expedition nib and the complete, brass piston. Just an absolutely gorgeous pen. And then you come out with the P141, which is kind of a scaled down, cheaper version. The nib, at least originally, came out with just a number 8. It's not the Expedition, but the Moonman nib. It's got kind of a partly brass and partly rubber. The rod is rubber. The material is much cheaper. People complain that it's just a cheap version. Why do the 141 when you've got the 140, which is essentially, the 149 clone, if you will, a Mont Blanc 149 clone. And then they decided to make us believe that you could put the Expedition nib on this, in other words, swap this Moonman nib with an Exhibition nib, and give this pen extra value, and you can buy the nib separately. So that's what I did, and I tried to swap that nib with the P1, with the Expedition Sun nib, and I couldn't do it. It just couldn't fit the section. I tried with the sections. I tried just with the nib, the feeds. The other difference is that here you got a plastic feed, and in the P140 it's an ebonite feed, and I just couldn't do it. But then I noticed that on the site they were selling the P140 with an Expedition nib. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to get one. And there you have it. So I got it in the green. I don't have any of these Mont Blanc clones in this nice dark green color with that Exhibition nib. And it's a medium. So we're going to ink it up once again with Verde Foresta from Leonardo. And we're going to kind of give this pen a go. But there you have it. My suggestion is you're going to get the P141. Get it with this Expedition nib. Don't get it with that Moonman number 8 size nib, which is just awful. I've done everything possible to it. It just doesn't give me the performance that this nib does. So there you have it. So I thought I'd add that to my collection. So that's another one in terms of my pen haul for this week. And I also got in another mechanical pencil. I'm really going crazy with these mechanical pencils. This is the infamous or famous Uni Kurotoga with that 0.5 nib, and we'll add this to my weapons for next week. It's got kind of a partly wooden barrel there, which again, the Japanese this year, it's wood. It looks like wood is kind of dominating their, or at least partly dominating the look of some of their writing instruments. So I'd added that to my recent collection of wood-based writing instruments. So there you have it. We're going to try that out in my new weapons for the week section a little bit later. So that is in essence my pen haul for this week, with this beauty taking the lead, so to speak. We'll be right back. We're going to eventually ink all of those pens and show you how they write. Be right back. So we're back. We're going to ink up this new Asvine C2000. From what I saw, I don't see any difference between this release and the previous release, other than they've settled the dry nib issue and have properly capped the cap of that pen so that there is no air coming in and it's properly sealed. So let me just get a cloth here. Okay, we'll clean that up. So she's inked. Let me close up this bottle here and we'll do some writing on this batch one paper. Now, this Asvine pen is just, for the price, very much, it's unbeatable in my view. So this is the Asvine C2000. Now, did I get the 1.1 stub? Oh, it's the 1.1 stub. I thought it got a medium. So it's 1.1. Yeah, my favorite. The ink is the Leonardo Verde Foresta, so forest green, beautiful green. I don't know if you can see that. Let me just there you go. And the nib is the steel number 8 Asvine 1.1 stub. Very nice. So again, right out of the box, these Asvine nibs are just perform really, really nice. I'm looking forward to doing a showdown between these steel number 8 nibs, Chinese, with other number 8 steel nibs, including the Leonardo Officina new steel number 8 nib, which is fabulous idea. And stay tuned, folks. By the way, I've ordered the Gravitas Monster. So it's coming in. It's coming in soon. As I said, there's plenty of action in the fountain pen studios. Let's take a look at this Majon P140 to see how this is the one that has the medium nib. So this is the Majon P141 green. And it has the Majon number 8 steel medium sun nib. We'll call it the sun nib. You'll understand that's that expedition nib. Take a look at this medium. Such a juicy medium. Really, really. The ink is the same Leonardo. I hope you appreciate that Leonardo green. Very, very nice. It's got some little bit of that red sheen. Got nice shading. Sorry about the blotch here. And this nib beats that ugly Mahjong number 8 or Moonman nib. You need the Expedition nib. It's got such bounce, a lot more bounce than the Asvine. The Asvine's got other characteristics, and we'll do a real detailed comparison in due course. I don't want to spoil the surprise. I've decided I'm not going to show you how this pen writes. Stay tuned for my review this week. You'll be able to see it there. But I did want to show you my, what is it, Kuri Toga? Or is it Kuro? No, Kuru Toga. So this is the, is there any, no, there's no nib out. There we go. So this is the Kuru Toga. Now it is a 5, so I have to be careful. I have a tendency to snap those leads. Mechanical pencil. Wow, it writes like a fine fountain pen. Very nice. Quality product. I wouldn't be able to give you a detailed review of this pen to go over all its specs. But you know, I'm getting fascinated by all these. You'll see that there are more mechanical pencils coming up. I've ordered a couple of new ones, and they should be coming in soon, and we'll feature them on some future recap. But very nice. So there goes that's I think does it for my pen haul for this week. Stay tuned for my next segment. Now, for my next segment, which up to now has been called Currently Inked, where essentially I review the pens that I inked last week, and I showed you what I was inking. They were my last week's new weapons for this week, and now become my Currently Inked, which will lead up to my next week's weapons. One of you suggested, because we're trying to kind of play around a little bit with the format, and maybe split the format into this recap and then do a separate kind of a blog on Q&A, etc. One of them, because I just want to try to keep it as close as possible to an hour and 15 minutes. And one of you suggested, well, you're Currently Inked really is a repetition of what you did the week before. You may want to eliminate that or play around with that a little bit. And I think he's right, because essentially I will be showing you what I showed you the week before. Now, not all the viewers would have seen the recap from the week before, but the majority of you are loyal viewers and follow me from week to week. So you would have seen these pens already. But I don't want to completely abandon that format, but maybe I can shorten it and a little bit and in this way. So this is my last week's Currently Inked, if you will, and this is what I've been playing around with this week. You'll remember that and let me just go to my overhead camera here. Yeah, this is what I played around with this week. Those are my Currently Inked, and the theme, if you will, were gold nibbed fine nibs. So these are all pens that have gold fine nibs. And what I thought I'd mention is that originally when I put all these together, I said I'm going to have a great week. As it turned out, I spent most of my week not using pens, or most of my time at the office not really needing pens. A lot of reading, a lot of talking on the phone, a lot of negotiating, etc. So I had very little use for all these beautiful pens. But I did want to revisit a few, and what we'll do is we will switch up the paper. I'll show you what this KINBOR paper looks like when you write on it with a regular pen, as opposed to the Batchwan paper. Let me just close up here so you can see. I ended up using this pen, which is the Optima. In fact, I inked it twice just because I enjoyed it so much. This is the Optima Flex. So this is the Aurora Optima with the Flex nib, or the Flexor Aurora nib. Now I got to tell you, I like the way this paper sounds. Let me just put it's a very good feeling and a very nice writing experience, I must say. But you see what you get on the other side. Now this is with this Flex nib. And is there a little bit of feathering? A little bit of feathering, which is too bad because the pen itself feels great. Now, what the other pens that I used, well, you saw my review on this beautiful Espresso Martini Omas. Now this does have the Noce Moscato from Leonardo. It's a medium nib. Now, I know some of you were critical about Omas because there is this, Omas Official, which looks like the Omas in North America. Then there's the family, the Omas original family, I forget their name, the Italians from Bologna that are starting up operations. And I mentioned this in my previous recaps. And, some of you may be wondering what the dichotomy there is. My understanding is that Omas Official, which is run by the same people as Navlor, and it is really North America. And Omas Bologna, which is this new entity that has been created by the family that was behind the original Omas brand, is kind of going to stick to Europe. I can't say anything bad about these pens. Some of you might said that, well, you got a nice nib because, they sent it to you for a review, so they made sure. Actually, I got to tell you, this nib is probably not as nice as the other Omas pen that I have, the Demonstrator, which wrote probably nicer than this one. So, and that pen I bought in Italy, I didn't get, for review purposes. Where does this nib come from? I mean, my understanding is that this is an in-house nib. Now, is it, a copy of the original Omas design nib, but made in China? That's not my understanding. But look, I could be wrong. Whatever it is, it writes really nice. It's got a little spring to it, not much, a little. And with this ink, wow. I can't say anything bad about the pen, other than the price, but it's not any more expensive than, Leonardo pens with gold nibs, Delta, Merino, Aurora, Visconti, etc., etc. They're just, that's the way it is. That's the market. So really enjoying this pen. This is the Dieman A10. A little bit less impressed with this one. You'll see my review on this pen. But this is the Dieman It too has the new Leonardo Noce Moscata. So we'll call it brown. Take a look at my review for this pen. I have some comments there, and I invite you, if you're thinking about this pen, well, take a look at my review. Maybe going up also next week, or may even be already published by the time you see this recap. So that's the ones I wanted to focus on. I also wanted to focus on my Schaefer, which I did have some use for. So this is the Schaefer Legacy 2, which is just an absolutely high performance inlaid nib. And in that regard, I have an announcement. I finally got my hands on a Waterman Karen. So now I have the inlaid nibs from these Schaefer Legacies. I have also the Imperial inlaid nib from Schaefer. I have the Edson, of course, and now I've got the Karen. And maybe after I review the Karen and give you my view on it, we can kind of do a comparison between those inlaid nibs and maybe even others that I have in my collection. So stay tuned for that. So I did want to mention that. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and in terms of what's new, this is scribble, and this is La Dotta, and I'd like to make an announcement, and that announcement is, let me go to my computer, because I should have mentioned it earlier, but let me go to my computer right away, and that is, in terms of new in the market, well, Scribo's finally come up with a new one. They had the Feel, which is what has the same shape as La Dotta. La Dotta is the pen I just showed you. And they have the Puma, which is this one, which I really don't like. But now they've come out with the Flow. This is the Flow. This is their new model. And I wrote to Luca at Scribo some time ago, and he had kind of said to me that when we get the new model, we'll send you one for review purposes. When I saw it pop up as the new model, I wrote to him and I said, Luca, what's going on? Is that your new model? Because they've been working on it for some time. And he said, yeah, absolutely, Vincenzo, we'll send it to you. He said he was going to a business trip in Asia, and then when he would come back in about 10 days, he would send the pen to me for review purposes. So there you have it. Stay tuned. I should be getting my hands on this new Flow Tempo. I'm not sure I'm going to get the Tempo or the Harmonia. I don't know. We haven't worked out the details yet with the Scribo, but I thought I'd make that announcement. I'm very excited. I know that I've enjoyed this pen tremendously. It's amongst one of my best pens, and they're a small pen maker originally from Omas, started their own business. This pen is just probably the nicest, La Dotta they have in their collections, and I'm looking forward to the Flow. So there you have it. That's another announcement for you. And you know what, folks? Stay tuned. We'll ink some of the next week's. I have to think about the theme, and once I figure that out, stay tuned. We'll do some pen writing, and we'll choose our pens for next week. Be right back. Okay, folks, so here we are for my, what will become, I guess, my currently inked. It's my weapons for next week. The theme here, again, is going to be gold nibs, but medium. So these are medium gold nibbed pens, if you will. So, without any further ado, let's just put that aside. And this time we're going to use the Batch 1 paper on this KINBOR notebook. Just change it up, show the difference between this one and the KINBOR paper per se. Okay, so let's start the writing samples. Here's my Delta 1 of 1. Isn't that beautiful? My Delta Napoli. And it's just, this was done just for me from by Nino Marino. So there's only one pen like this in the world. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful pen. The nib was tuned by his son, who's becoming, probably by now, is already a nibmeister. So this is the Delta Napoli C with a medium 18 karat Delta nib. By the way, you can tell the difference right away in writing on this paper. You are writing with Tomo River with that Sanson feedback, so it is more and more looking like Sanson to me. This is a Leonardo. Now it's a special edition. I don't sure what the name of this model is. Is there anything indicated on the pen? No, but it has a 14 karat. And this is a Yowo medium nib. Very wet medium, almost broad. Then I have, speaking about very wet mediums, this is probably amongst my gushers. By the way, when I introduced the pens, I made a mistake. I introduced the Pelican M800, but I had a broad nib. In fact, it wasn't a Pelican. It was an Admoc M800 with a 18 karat Pelican broad nib, but this is the medium nib. So this is the Pelican M1000 green, and it is just fountain pen therapy at its best. Gotta tell you folks, just a gusher. One of my favorite pens, and a Grail pen at that. Next is my Conway Stewart. Beautiful Conway Stewart. My only drawback of this pen is that it has a tendency to, the nib has a tendency to dry, which is unfortunate, but it's still a gorgeous pen. So this is my Conway Stewart. And it has this new Leonardo Asa Blue ink. Gorgeous nib, gorgeous pen, gorgeous look, gorgeous design. Just has a dry nib issue. Out of all these pens, in fact, that I haven't used in a while, they all wrote right off the bat, except two. The Conway Stewart, I had to kind of prime it a little bit. In fact, I ended up changing the ink. And I'll show you the next one in just a few seconds. This one I had no problem writing. This is the Aurora Talentum. It's black with gold trims. And it has a 14 karat Aurora medium nib. Wow, these nibs are just hard to beat, I gotta tell you. Let me just push that a little further up. This is the Cypress Micarta with a 18 karat, is that 14 or no, 14 karat medium nib. So this is the Cypress or Mr. Cypress Micarta. Forget, I think there's a bunch of numbers after that, but this is the 14 karat Cypress, very soft medium nib that really sings like a sailor nib. Probably some of them, they make some of the best, well, you know, good quality but cheapest terms of price, gold nibs. This is my Schaefer Legacy, my second. Oh, has no ink. Or does it? No, no ink. So you know what? Let's ink it up. We shall ink it up with, yeah, Esmeralda Leonardo. So I'm going to cut off, ink it up, and be right back. Okay, so we're back. Now I put some, so that light blue emerald Leonardo ink, it did have a darker ink, and I'm just smudging it because my hands are full of ink, but so it might come out a little bit darker than usual, but this is the, oh, it's okay, yeah, Schaefer Legacy. My hands are full of ink. 2, and that has that Schaefer inlaid medium nib. Again, a medium nib that writes like a broad. Just perfect. Speaking of wet nibs, this is my Peniter. Does it write? Oh, it writes. It's just the angle of the paper. Peniter La Bellezza. With a medium quill nib, which is, you know, such a flexy nib. One of my favorite pens, Peniter La Bellezza. Oh, it's magnet. There we go. Speak of favorite pens, there's another Grail. This is my Sailor, probably the thinnest line of all of them. Sailor King of Pen. With the Sailor 21 karat medium with that pencil feedback that is so unique to Sailor. I can, if you give me a nib from Sailor and you don't tell me and I can't see it, or maybe you put, you know, something over my eyes and let me write with it, I can tell if it's a Sailor nib. They're so unique, probably amongst the uniquest nibs in terms of feel. This is a Navlar Nautilus, but I've got an old Ancora vintage 18 karat nib in there. So this is the Ancora 18 karat nib in a Nautilus. That was the second pen I needed to just prime, just to put a little bit in water, and it got going right away. And I think it's got more to do with the pen, this Nautilus, than with the nib, frankly. So there you have that one, and my last fountain pen, which is the recently purchased and recently reviewed Visconti Voyager. With a Visconti, is it 18 karat or 14 karat? It's so small I can hardly see it. 18 karat. Medium nib. Now, people complain about the Visconti nibs. I really have not had any major problems with the gold nibs on my Visconti pens. Maybe just a lucky one. And last but not least, you've seen this. This is the Kuro Toga 0.5 pencil. Very nice. So there you have it. That's my pens for next week. Just a great collection of absolutely beautiful writing instruments. Hopefully I'll do a little more writing than I did last week, so I can enjoy these gorgeous pens. And if not, I'm going to do more writing at night with them. So stay tuned. I'll let you know next week what did and didn't happen. Next segment coming up. Won't be long. Okay, next segment is fountain pen videos or reviews, YouTube reviews. First of all, my channel, you have last week's recap that I invite you to take a look at. Are always interesting. They're always new products. So look at your timestamps and you can consume that at your leisure if you have not already. 2 reviews this week. The Omas, that beautiful espresso martini. Take a look at that. And I've also decided to publish my review of the Dieman A10. So take a look at those 2 reviews for this week. What's up for me next week? Well, I think we're going to review probably that Leonardo Sottobosco will probably come up next week. So stay tuned for that as long as my schedule permits, but I think that's what's going to be up on next Wednesday. In terms of other YouTube reviewers, I've got 3 reviews that I recommend. One, my friend Hemingway Jones reviews the Gravitas Monster, a pen that I've ordered, looking forward to receiving, and I was glad I saw his review. It kind of confirms that I did not make a mistake. He gives you his own style. His reviews are unique. I recommend it. Secondly, there is Wonders Unlocked from Australia, who takes a look at the Wingsung 629, 630, 930, but with gold nib upgrades. So if you're thinking about those upgrades, I know they're expensive, not sure, well, take a look at Wonders Unlocked. He does some writing samples that are very tempting, I'm going to tell you that. And lastly, but not least, is my friend Fontaine de Plume, who also reviewed the Dieman A10, so you can get a second perspective on that pen. I invite you to take a look at his video. It's either in French or there's an automatic translation, so you'll be able to hear his review. Always interesting and unique perspective from my friend at Fontaine de Plume. So there you have it for YouTube reviews. And that kind of, wraps up my recap, if you will. Hope you enjoyed that, folks. Enjoy your pens this week. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It's going to help. There's a lot of work that goes into a video like this and all the videos. And my compensation, if you will, is the fact that you subscribe and view this channel. So thank you very much if you do. It's free. Don't have to pay for anything. If you like it, you keep liking it. If you don't, you unsubscribe. And that's the only commitment you make. Ciao, folks. Have a great week. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the fall weather. And get out there. Get out there, because soon we'll be locked in here in Montreal. The snow will come in and we'll enjoy our fountain pens almost on a daily basis. Ciao. Arrivederci.